that energy pulled me back to my roots. I just love fanning this deck out every time I take it out to use it. I like to smell paper and cardstock. I mean, look how beautiful that is, the backs there. No regrets here. I'm not usually a cardstock snob. I will work with any deck. I don't know, shall I say I regret it? Over the past 3 months, 12 new tarot and oracle decks have found their way onto my shelves. In this video, I'll share each one with you and talk about what drew me to them. The first deck is the Enchanted Map Oracle, so we'll start with oracles. July was a nostalgic month for me, for a lot of reasons, and that energy pulled me back to my roots with a Colette Baron Reid deck. The art takes me straight back to the early 2000s. My first ever oracle deck actually was the Mystical Shaman by Colette Baron Reid, and my first deck ever. So getting an older copy of the Enchanted Map just felt right to me. I specifically searched for an older copy just to match that nostalgic feel that was going on in July. This deck is really versatile and it pairs almost with anything in my collection, which is really, really nice. That means I don't really have to think too hard when reaching for an oracle deck, which is what I've noticed is kind of what I need for my oracles. So I've really been loving this, specifically alongside my tarot decks. Next is Coastal Curiosities by Lennox Rees, which I actually won in a giveaway that she was hosting. I have the pocket edition, and look at those beautiful colors. I just love fanning this deck out every time I take it out to use it. But yes, I have the pocket edition and it just works with so many decks. I love the fact that each card has one central keyword paired with the collage work, and the collage work really breaks down different ways that it relates to the keyword, in which Lennox goes into more detail in her guidebook. And if you get the pocket edition, she will send you the PDF guidebook. And I don't know, I really find that nice and handy to have such a compact version of this because it's so easy to take out. I don't always need the guidebook. I think it's kind of dependent on how I'm feeling, which is really nice. I can read this without it, definitely. I've really, really loved pairing this alongside the Hush Tarot. I find that the Coastal Curiosities is like that extroverted friend who brings the quiet one out of their shell, and the quiet one is the Hush Tarot, which actually is going to be our next deck, so let me grab that. The Hush Tarot is one that I've really admired for so many years since its initial release. This got a lot of hype and hubbub when it first came out, and for really, really good reasons. I have edged my copy, but I was always too intimidated to purchase this deck. The reason is a little twofold. One is I was newer to tarot back in 2020 when this deck first came out. And being a new tarot reader and still learning it, I was seeing a lot of people who were reviewing it at the time, doing unboxings and such, saying that it follows its own path and it does stray a little bit or a lot from the RWS, which kind of scared me a little bit. Again, I was a new reader, so anything that posed as a challenge wasn't what I was looking for in that exact moment. But when I came across a few images earlier this summer, just something in me clicked and I felt ready. I found a secondhand copy that practically called out to me, told me to purchase it, which is this copy here, and I've really connected with it, especially as we move into fall. I did a little mini dive. I don't even know if I would categorize it as a deep dive, but just a little dive into the deck initially, and I had a lot of fun with it. I just feel like I get it. I get what it's trying to say. I understand why the artist chose the imagery they chose. It's so deeply connected to and rooted in nature, but in a way that doesn't eliminate the human experience. So I like that touch a lot, and I'm really looking forward to working with it even more. Next, I want to keep with the darker-ish theme and speak about the Somnia Tarot. The Somnia Tarot is actually a repurchase for me, and this is the first edition of the deck. I had to sell my copy last year among a lot of other decks for financial reasons, so I was sad to part with it. I saw that Nicholas Bruno was releasing a new borderless edition. I knew that I wanted this deck back, specifically this edition, before it goes out of print, ? I'm not sure if that's happening. There are a lot of changes happening in the second edition edition, it is going to be borderless, which I do find for a photography deck will be amazing. I think that'll be great. The cardstock is changing. It's going to have gilt edges, and it's going to have a magnetic closure box instead of just a regular two-piece box. For some reason, I don't know, I just really feel attached to this version. I actually quite like the borders. I find that it gives a picture frame quality, makes me view it as though I'm in a museum. I don't know, it just feels like a mini gallery in my hand, specifically with the borders. So I think that a lot of people are very intimidated by this deck. I think it's very polarizing. However, I think that the big guidebook that Nicholas Bruno wrote, which is different from this. This is just pretty basic, but he goes into more detail about the imagery and his experience with sleep paralysis, which is what this deck is centered on. It makes a huge difference with this deck and understanding its viewpoint, and it's not as malicious as it might seem at first. I never had that experience. I always kind of admired it and met it where it is. I didn't pretend it wasn't something that it wasn't. I haven't really worked with it much since repurchasing it, which was just recently in the past, I don't know, 4 weeks or so. But I'm really happy to have it home again, and I will definitely be pulling this out for the darker months. Next, I have this little guy and a big juxtaposition from the past two decks, which have been a little on the darker side. But this is the Squid cake. It's super cute. I love the pink edging. This is a rock pool deck, and this deck was originally purchased because it was meant for my Marseille deep dive study that I'm doing with TarotCommunity by Mr. Frivort. I originally intended to work with this deck in tandem because the guidebook does a really good job of bringing in the visual cues of the Marseille, which is brand new to me. So Jess Roller, the creator here, has visually on each and every card for the minors, which is super helpful if you are a beginner. So it's very beginner friendly for the Marseille, which I find perhaps I'm like missing a whole market, but I find that there's not a lot of beginner friendly Marseille decks out there. So I really appreciated the playfulness of this deck. It is really cute. I love the pink and the blues. I think it was really well put together. However, I ended up setting this aside for the deep dive study because I came up with a system that I think will work for me and that I spoke about in my last wrap up a little bit. I'm no longer using it for my deep dive study right now. However, I think that once I get over that deep focus work, I will be pulling this out and working with it and just having a little fun with it. It's super approachable, and if you're thinking about learning the Marseille, I think this is a great place to start. Yeah, just a really great affordable option for getting into the Marseille. Next, I have the Earthbound Tarot by Allison Davies. I did see that Allison Davies put out a Kickstarter not only for this deck, but for the Blue Earth Tarot. And when the Blue Earth Tarot originally ran on Kickstarter a couple of years ago, I did back it. However, it was in that grouping of decks that I resold last year. I was really happy to see her do another print run of not only this deck, but the Blue Earth. And this time I just decided to back the Earthbound Tarot. I don't know what it is about her artwork, but it really captures like a middle school era for me, and I really want to connect with that part of me, or reconnect with that part of me. I think many of us know how I don't want to say traumatic, but how different middle school can be and how transformative it is, a literal death card period in our lives. And it's like on the precipice of moving out of childhood and into teenhood, right? It's on that edge there. So I don't know, I just look forward to working with it in this way. My copy is not gilded, but there was an option to have it gilded, but I don't know, for some reason I just went with the plain edges. I think it suits it nice, even though it has some shiny accents on the back. I will say, I think that this is pretty much the same cardstock as Blue Earth, and the reason I say that is I just remember the feeling of it, but more importantly, the flex, how it shuffles, and the smell. This is like the best smelling cardstock that could ever be on a deck. And I am one of those that just, I don't know, I like to smell paper and cardstock, so I don't know, I guess it matters to me. Next, I have a really special deck here, the Earthbound Tarot. This tarot is super special and was my most anticipated Kickstarter releases of the year, the one that I was waiting on the most. It is painted with earth pigments, in a watercolor style. And I actually tried filming a walkthrough first impressions of this deck, but my camera literally cut out 3 minutes into the video, and I didn't realize it till the very end when I had already opened it. I felt a little upset that I had put that work in. I took it as a strong cue for the deck telling me, like, not yet, it wasn't ready to be on camera. And so I really respected that, and I haven't really brought this deck on camera. This is its debut right now for this video. So this deck feels like a slower, more intentional journey, but it's definitely one I am so excited to take because Earth is my favorite element. It's my favorite suit. It's just comforting to me. It feels like home. Earth and water are the top elements in my natal chart, even though my sun sign is in Aries. So funny. There's a true artistry and reverence with this deck. It's so gorgeous. I love how this was created. We're living in a world that disconnects us so much from the earth, from where we're really supposed to spend our time. And this deck is a little tiny piece of an area of my life, of my special interests that I love so much. And you can literally feel the energy. I know that this is like reprinted, copies. Oh, I mean, look how beautiful that is. The backs there when you spread them out, and then the fronts again. But you can feel the energy of this. And I have heard people say that about another deck. What is the name of that? Healing Waves, I believe, because the artist used seawater to paint the watercolor of that deck, and it brings it all together, and you can feel that energy. The cardstock is the finest linen grid. It's like a, playing card style linen, so it's super luxurious. It's very flexible. It's going to last you a while. I don't know, everything about this deck is so super special. I haven't really worked with it a whole lot. I want to really take my time with this deck. It just has that feeling. The next deck is another super special deck to my collection, and that is the Magical Creatures Tarot. I have copy 1008 out of 1500, which is a really great number for me, the Hermit. The Magical Creatures Tarot came to me after the creator announced that they would no longer be shipping to the United States due to everything that's going on. I had already missed the Kickstarter, and I did not want to miss the opportunity to get this deck. No regrets here. From the moment I opened the box, completely fell in love with it, and I kind of knew that was going to happen because I do have the Northern Animal Tarot, and even though it is the same artwork, it's from the same artist, it's in the same style, there's like an evolution that happened within her artwork. The colors are so much more vibrant, and the Northern Animal has a lot of color in it, but I just find that this is so much more vibrant. The colors just pop, and I love it. It's really endearing. I love all the creatures, but again, it doesn't shy away from the tougher cards. I love the expressiveness of the creatures' faces, whether they're mad or happy or sad. You really feel that emotive pull with them, at least I do. I think many of us are naturally inclined empaths, so I don't know, I really connect with this deck and what each card is kind of going through in the moment. I have been pairing this deck with the Shamanic Healing Oracle, which I know kind of sounds like a mismatch in many ways, but I've been doing it right before bed. I pull a card from the Shamanic Healing Oracle, and then I pull a card from this, and together they've just been incredible. I love this Eight of Wands. It's like the same but yet different. I love that perspective. It's a deck that definitely has taken me by surprise. I've just fallen head over heels for it. The next two decks I'm going to talk about as a duo because that's how I purchased them. So we have the Cracked Amethyst Tarot and the Idiosyncra deck. Now, these are essentially the same deck. One is the original artwork by Jessica Bott, and the other is the updated artwork version that she created. Now, I saw that this was going to be Jessica's last deck as a creator. I didn't want to miss out on the chance, and I knew that she had been so reluctant to reprint the Idiosyncra deck. She just didn't like it, plain and simple. I don't know, I thought it would be fun to play with these as a pair of transformation, how we grow and learn and how we change. I think working with the deck in that way would be really interesting to bring into my practice, not one that I've had the opportunity to do. I was originally so excited about this, and I still am. I think that you can clearly see just how much her artwork has transformed, evolved, and improved over the years, and I really think that she should be proud of this. Even though these are iterations of the same deck, they definitely have two different feelings. However, my Idiosyncra deck is flawless and I love it and it's great. I even like the mini size. But my Cracked Amethyst Tarot had a couple of issues. So firstly, my sealed copy was missing the Two of Cups. Now, not a huge deal. I reached out to Jessica directly and she was so kind in sending me a replacement card. And I was so excited to get the replacement card in the mail because I've been waiting to use this deck. When I got the replacement card in, it looks beautiful, it's wonderful, it's amazing. However, here is the issue. It is ever so slightly taller than the rest of the cards and a little bit wider. I don't know if you can see that. So when shuffling, the edge would definitely get bent if you riffle, and then if you put it in the deck to overhand, it would definitely kind of cut into your fingers. My dilemma is I've already reached out to Jessica once. I just don't want to be a nuisance and bothersome. So I could trim this card. I don't think it would be too big of a deal. It could work. It wouldn't really mess up too much of the backing of the card or the front of the card. However, as you can see, these do have a matte silver gilding, so that would eliminate two sides of the gilding. So I would have to find a really, really good match for the gilding, and I'm willing to give that a try, I think, but I'm still trying to figure out what to do. If you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments. If you know what a perfect gild match would be for this deck, let me know too, because I would just really have to hate to reach out to Jessica again. She lives in Canada, so, and I live in the US, and I just don't want to do that to her. The Infinite Door is my most recent deck acquisition. Literally as of last week is when I got this deck in. I did pre-order it and I'm really excited to have it. I have seen very mixed opinions and thoughts online about this deck, and it's kind of twofold. It's surrounding the artwork and the cardstock. So personally, I really love the artwork. I love that surrealism, fantasy-ish-esque type mind, I don't know, bending perspective that it provides. I think that this will be a really great deck to bring forward looking at specific cards in a new way for me. In my walkthrough first impressions and pairings, which I will link above in the cards if you want a more full in-depth look at this deck, I griped about the cardstock. It is that very papery, and you can hear it right there, cardstock that does not have a core, but it is very matte, it is really flexible, and it does have a pretty good thickness to it. However, when you shuffle it, this is the kind of cardstock that is going to stay in the last position that you put it in. So I will give an example right here. So as you can see, because it lacks a core, it kind of stays in the last position that I had it in, which is when I was bridging. So I was going this way. Right now, it's not too terribly bad. I know that might be a deal breaker for some, and for that I can completely respect that, for sure, 100%. However, I just think the artwork is too good. It's too different and interesting and unique for me to pass up on it just because of the cardstock. I'm not usually a cardstock snob. I will work with any deck, any type of cardstock. But I will say, after doing the flip through and doing pairings and taking the last week to continue to flip through it and shuffle it and work with it a little bit, I've come to appreciate what the cardstock is. I don't think it's the worst in the world. I've definitely had weaker, more cardboardy cardstock, which put a pin in that because that's kind of the next deck. I just think that this has too much of a purpose for me in learning and growing. I love how it presents the suits. I'm really happy to have it in my collection. I do not regret pre-ordering this. I don't really pre-order decks. I'm one that kind of waits for others to put out their own reviews and such, and then I can make a decision. But this time, just something in my gut said to send it, so I did. And last but certainly not least, it is the Tarot of Vampires Spanish edition. Believe it or not, I did used to own this deck, and I thought, why not? I see Racine talk about this all the time. Why not just give it a go? Now, this was several years ago, but I did end up selling it. I was originally intrigued by the art, the fact that I know that the guidebook is quite expansive, and at the time, again, I was still new to tarot and in my journey, and I thought this might be a good one to help me go off the RWS path. I think that, I don't know, shall I say I regret it? The main reason is because I don't feel like I gave it enough of a chance. I think I jumped to conclusions that this wasn't for me and that was that, and I passed it on. Part of that regret is the fact that it is now out of print and it is really hard to come by copies at a fair price. However, I was on Amazon, just as one is. I wanted to see if Ian Daniels had anything else. And when I searched his name, this came up, the Spanish edition, and it's only $35. At least USD. And I didn't purchase it right away. I actually thought about it because of the fact that me and this deck did not quite get on originally. But I have been thinking about it. I have been, seeing a lot of people are pulling it out right now, especially during the fall time. And it is a great October deck. It is a great deck outside of October, but I think it's really just fitting the aesthetics, the vibes, the atmosphere right now. I am really glad to have it back, but I will say that the Spanish edition is not a Llewellyn publication. Ediciones Oblisco? That's the publisher for the Spanish edition. This is a very chunky dunky box, and I will never fear that the cards are protected in this thing. However, I do not like the layout of the box because this guidebook is super heavy. The cards, when you put the kind of just free float in there. I will say it is a bummer that the cardstock is different. It is definitely cardboardy. It is definitely like cereal box cardboard. I haven't even really shuffled through this. It's still mostly in order. Every time I take it out of the box, it just kind of, the cards went flying everywhere. But you can see it has a little bit of a bow here, and it is larger than the Llewellyn cardstock. And sometimes the quality of the images feel not as great, almost like, I don't know, there's like a fuzziness to it. But I really want to give this deck a second go. I really want to try and bond with the deck. So if you have any tips on how to bond with this deck, what worked for you, anything to try, I just feel like it's so outside of the norm. It's a really different deck, right? We all kind of know it and we love it for that. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm slightly still intimidated by it. But, I had the opportunity to grab the Spanish edition, and that doesn't bother me at all. I mean, I have a French version of a deck, so, it doesn't bother me whatsoever. But, yeah, I'm just unsure of how to not even rebond with the deck, because I didn't really bond with it in the first place, but bond with a deck that has such a strong point of view and narration and story, one that is a little bit intimidating to me, and one where again, I'm not a cardstock snob, but the experience of this is a little off-putting because, I gotta be honest, I was expecting, and I guess this is where I went wrong, I was expecting the Llewellyn version, and this is not that. So, I mean, as you saw right there, it riffle shuffles just fine, but maybe I'm just so intimidated that I'm just coming up with any form of excuse. But yeah, let me know. Let me know if you have any tips for bonding with this deck. I would love to hear them. So those are the 12 decks that made their way into my collection this quarter. Each one has its own story, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they fit into my practice as we head into the next season. If you enjoyed spending time with me today, you might like my other videos too, so I'll leave some linked below. And I'd love to hear from you. Which of these decks do you own, or which one caught your eye the most? And until next time, see you around.